All the way from the start, I can feel it in my heart, like all the way from the start.
Hey, what's going on out there? I'm Sean Devine. Hope you all are doing well. Today I've got a new tutorial where we are going to be mixing a rap vocal, a rap verse, top to bottom, start to finish. Many of you that saw the mixing vocals with Waves plugins R&B edition, you were requesting that we do one for rap. So that's exactly what we're going to do. I had some time to work on some music over the weekend, so I recorded this verse for a track I'm working on. So we'll go ahead and dive into this together, have some fun here. But let me play back the verse. Everything's just kind of up front right now. It's going to sound like a jumbled mess, but we're going to dive into it and get this thing where it needs to be. So here we go.
Been going through it lately, testing my patience. This world wants to break me down. Some of you seeking, I'm giving. Fruits of the labor, y'all flexing, I'm living aloud. Aging like fine wine, I'm counting these pennies, place the highest values on my time. Try to be a son of the Most High, reflect brightness in contrast to low vibes to the death. Lack of balance and not enough rest. Doubt take me through the fire, woke up in cold sweats. Your whispers I equate to nothing, you ain't nothing. But we all know you're up to something, cause my soul stays heavy like the D-line. Place my worth up above, never anchor to your love or acceptance. Even when I get quite reckless, I made it through the darkness, thank heavens.
All right, so we got our work cut out for us here. We're going to be treating these verse vocals, especially the mains, as well as my backing tracks and the punches, as one vocal. So it's very important to recognize this concept where right now, as you heard it unmixed, it just sounds like a lot of different takes and everything is just not cohesive. So mentally, you want to go ahead and start thinking about this in terms of the performance. This is one verse, one vocal, and we want it to sound that way. So we're going to be treating all that stuff on the same aux track. And for those of you who are curious about why I have these backing tracks this way, I've done a video on actually recording this, and this is a method I use a lot for my own tracks as well as when I'm recording other artists. It helps give you more of a thickness to your vocals. So for those of you who may be using solid state preamps or your mic is just kind of thin, this will help you get more thickness out of it. So we're going to mix those in a little bit, but right now I'm going to turn those down and we're just going to go ahead and route the verse, the backings, the punches to their own aux track. So we'll go through bus 1 down here and we're going to go to SD verse. And then I'm going to mute our ad libs for now. We'll deal with those here after we get through this. So we've got everything routed there. And now let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to mute the punches for now.
I've been going through it lately, testing my patience. This world wants to break me down. Some of you seeking, I'm giving. Fruits.
So we're going to be running everything through Studio Rack. Once again, if you're not familiar with Studio Rack, it's a great utility plugin from Waves where we can load in Waves plugins into one single insert. We can use it to build these very advanced vocal chains and effects chains all within this one plugin. So it's very useful. You can set macro controls. If you're not familiar with it, we used it in the Mixing R&B Vocals video series. I'll put a link to that if you want to check that out if you're more into the R&B side. But anyways, let's go ahead. And the first thing I'm going to do is just an EQ to get rid of some of the unwanted stuff here. So let's just pull up the audio track and I'm going to go ahead and pull this down and we're going to go ahead and set this to our low cut. And I'm going to move this up and we're just going to do it by ear. Let's just play it back.
Death, lack of balance and not enough rest. Doubt take me through the fire, woke up in cold sweats. Your whispers I equate to nothing. But we all know you're up to something, cause my soul stays heavy like the D-line. Place my worth up above, never anchor to your love or acceptance. Even when I get quite reckless, I made it through the darkness, thank heavens.
So we may cut a little bit of 200 or so. This mic tends to have a little bit of that kind of boxiness. I'm going to use a different EQ for this though. Let's try maybe the Q10.
Death, lack of balance and not enough rest. Doubt take me through the fire, woke up in cold sweats. She whispers I equate to nothing, but we all know you're up to something. Cause my soul stays heavy like the D-line. Place my worth up above, never anchor to your love or acceptance. Even when I get quite reckless, I made it through the...
So just making a couple cuts there at about 200 and 400 or 375-ish. It might sound a little bit thin right now, but once we stack the backing vocals on there, it's going to make it more balanced. So we'll just leave that. And then now let's go ahead and do some compression here. I am going to use, what compressor do I want to use here? I've got a lot of Waves compressors. As you can see, let's use something different today though, something fun. Tell you what we'll do. We're going to do a little bit of serial compression today. So I'm going to use two compressors. First, let's do the CLA 76. Just to give this a little bit of warmth, I'm going to switch over to our Bluey revision, our friend, the blue face. We're going to do some very light compression with the CLA 76 here.
Death, lack of balance and not enough rest. Doubt take me through the fire, woke up in cold sweats. She whispers I equate to nothing, but we all know you're up to something. Stays heavy like the D-line. Place my worth up above, never anchor to your love or acceptance. Even when I get quite reckless, I made it through the darkness, thank heavens. Death, lack of balance and not enough rest. Doubt take me through the fire, woke up in cold sweats. She whispers I equate to nothing, but we all know you're up to something. Cause my soul stays heavy like the D-line. Place my worth up above, never anchor to your love or acceptance. Even when I get quite reckless, I made it through the darkness, thank heavens.
All right, so we've got maybe 2 dB of reduction there. Again, I just want to get the flavor of this CLA 76. So I'll play it with and without. This is without.
Death, lack of balance and not enough rest. Doubt take me through the fire, woke up in cold sweats. She whispers I equate to nothing, but we all know you're up to something. Cause my soul stays heavy like the D-line.
So it's very subtle. Again, if you don't have headphones on or you're listening on some monitors, it may not jump out at you, but we're adding just some subtle saturation there. So then let's go ahead and go to, let's do the H comp. I like this one. This is a great compressor, a lot of cool controls on this one. Punch control is very nice. I like the dry wet mix on the H comp. So anyways, let's turn off analog for now. I may switch that in here in a minute. But now we're just going to keep an eye on our metering, and I'm going to adjust this to taste.
Death, lack of balance and not enough rest. Doubt take me through the fire, woke up in cold sweats. She whispers I equate to nothing, but we all know you're up to something. Cause my soul stays heavy like the D-line.
So I'm going to turn on the limiter. You can hear that we're clipping a little bit. I'm not that concerned about it, but I am going to use that handy limiter here.
Death, lack of balance and not enough rest. Doubt take me through the fire, woke up in cold sweats. She whispers I equate to nothing, but we all know you're up to something. Cause my soul stays heavy like the D-line. Place my worth up above, never anchor to your love or acceptance. Even when I get quite reckless, I made it through the darkness, thank heavens. Death, lack. I've been going through it lately, testing my patience. This world wants to break me down. Some of you seeking, I'm giving. Fruits of the labor, y'all flexing, I'm living aloud. Aging like fine wine, I'm counting these pennies. Place the highest values on my time. Try to be a son of the Most High. Reflect brightness and contrast and low vibes to the death. Lack of balance and not enough rest.
So you could hear there when I pulled that threshold back a little bit, I had too much compression happening, and it's a very subtle fine line. I didn't pull the threshold back too much, but it definitely gave us more of a transparent sound, and the compression is not so dominating, and we don't want it to have like that pumping sort of unnatural effect. We just want the glue, but we still want it to be present. So just dialing that in. And again, I like to use the output on the compressor while I'm using compression, so I can adjust the level. You know, some compressors come with like an auto gain to, you know, take into account the gain reduction. I like to set this manually because after all, we are mixers. So we want to mix this ourselves and bring it to where it feels right. So
I've been going through it lately, testing my patience. This world wants to break me down. Some of you seeking, I'm giving. Fruits of the labor, y'all flexing, I'm living aloud.
So that should be about right. Now, some of you may be looking at my meter and saying, man, this is pretty hot. It was recorded a little bit hotter for the reason of a tutorial. I actually recorded it in a tutorial, and I'll show you that if you want to check it out. But I usually don't record this hot, but we are feeding this plugin a little bit hotter because I also have a 2-track beat mix right now. So I don't have as much control over bringing everything down. I'm just trying to get everything to compete. I'm okay with being aggressive and pushing levels and all that, as you've seen on the channel. I'm not trying to do it recklessly, but I'm not one of these mixers that is, making sure my levels are, super low in the green and then, relying on limiting and all that stuff at the end. We want to get the mix sounding good during the mixing process, right? We want to rely on the mixing process and have the power in our hands in terms of, creatively getting things to mesh correctly. So the compression feels pretty good to me. And let's go ahead and move on to EQ. And for this, I'm going to get out the Puig Tech EQP 1A, which this is based on the Pultec. And I love the high end of this. I'm going to dial it up to maybe 12 or 16K, something really high. We're going to add some nice air. And then with the combination of the boost and the attenuation, we'll get a nice tone out of it.
I've been going through it lately, testing my patience. This world wants.
So immediately we're going to see some clipping going on. It's okay. Don't worry about that right now. We're going to deal with it.
I've been going through it lately, testing my patience. This world wants to break me down. Some of you seeking, I'm giving. Fruits of the labor, y'all flexing, I'm living aloud. Aging like fine wine, I'm counting these pennies.
So we'll bring the output back just a little bit for those of you who are, really picky about the red and you don't want to see that. We'll bring that down and then we may do some light limiting at the end.
I've been going through it lately, testing my patience. This world wants to break me down. Some of you seeking, I'm giving. Fruits of the labor, y'all flexing, I'm living aloud. Aging like fine wine, I'm counting these pennies. Place the highest values on my time. Try to be a son of the Most High. Reflect brightness and contrast.
Ooh, that's such a nice high end on that Pultec. Let me solo it.
I've been going through it lately, testing my patience. This world wants to break me down. Some of you seeking, I'm giving. Fruits of the labor, y'all flexing, I'm living aloud.
So pretty cool. I'm going to take this CLA back just a little bit. Just hearing it with the compression, it's a little bit much.
I've been going through it lately, testing my patience. This world wants to break me down. Some of you seeking, I'm giving. Fruits of the labor, y'all flexing, I'm living aloud.
So just getting some of the tone out of it. And then I actually might do a little bit of a low frequency roll off here on the Pultec just because we've still got a little bit going on down there.
I've been going through it lately, testing my patience. This world wants to break me down. Some of you seeking, I'm giving. Fruits of the labor, y'all flexing, I'm living aloud.
All right, pretty cool. Now let's put on a de-esser, which, as you all know, I aggressively boost my high end, follow it with a de-esser. This gives us that present tone, but it's going to make it to where the S's and the sibilants don't take your head off. So I'm going to go ahead and just select the male S, and we may make some adjustments. My S's tend to be a little bit higher in frequency. We're just going to lower this down to taste.
I've been going through it lately, testing my patience. This world wants to break me down. Some of you.
So you want to be really careful because we don't want to, kill all that brightness that we just worked for in our EQ. We just want to tame those S's there. I'm going to move the frequency up a bit.
I've been going through it lately, testing my patience. This world wants to break me down. Some of you seeking, I'm giving. Fruits of the labor, y'all flexing, I'm living aloud. Aging like fine wine, I'm counting these pennies. Place the highest value.
All right, so that sounds good as an overall tone. And now that we've got that set up, I'm going to mix in our backing layers just to give it a little bit more thickness. And in the mix, this is going to work out with us since we've got a piano in the instrumental that is filling out a lot of our mid-frequency sections. And again, I'm working with a 2-track. Many of you may be working with a 2-track. So having the backing so that we can bring that up and make that vocal a little bit more upfront is going to be helpful for us.
I've been going through it lately, testing my patience. This world wants to break me down. Some of you seeking, I'm giving. Fruits of the labor, y'all flexing, I'm living aloud. Aging like fine wine, I'm counting these pennies, place the highest values on my time, try to be a.
So I've got them tucked back in there. Again, we don't want the perception of the listener picking out, different takes. We're just adding this for tone. You can hear if I mute these.
I've been going through it lately, testing my patience. This world wants to break me down. Some of you seeking, I'm giving. Fruit
just makes it more impactful immediately as soon as we bring those in there very subtly. So now let's also mix in our punches. And what I do with my punches is this is just a tracking technique. I record the same delivery just for one for the left side, one for the right side, and then I wide pan them. Just gives you a cool stereo effect. This is a stylistic thing. You don't have to do this, but this is just the way I like to do my punches. So we'll just bring these in.
I've been going through it lately, testing my patience. This world wants to break me down. Some of you seeking, I'm giving. Fruits of the labor, y'all flexing, I'm living aloud. Aging like fine wine, I'm counting these pennies, place the highest values on my time. Try to be a son of the Most High, reflect bright.
All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna do a bit of the L1 plus. I like to put the Ultra Maximizer on the end of the chain just to give me a little bit more volume and a little bit more presence in the mix. So we're gonna set the ceiling to something just below 0 just to make sure that we're not pushing it too hard. I am gonna set this to true peak, and then we're gonna pull this down on the threshold just a bit, again, to give us just a slight bit more volume so it sits on top of the beat.
I've been going through it lately, testing my patience. This world wants to break me down. Some of you seeking, I'm giving. Fruits of the labor, y'all flexing, I'm living aloud. Aging like fine wine, I'm counting these pennies, place the highest values on my time. Try to be a son of the Most High, reflect brightness and contrast to low vibes to the death.
So you can mix those punches to taste. Again, I don't want them to be distracting. It widens things in a cool way. So again, do that to taste. All right, so we've set up a nice vocal chain for our lead vocal as well as our punches, and we've created a nice balance with those. So in the next video, we're gonna be adding some reverb as well as some delay to increase the excitement, give us a little bit more width. And then we're also going to be mixing our ad-libs, which I have a couple in here that are gonna need some pitch correction. So we'll do some tuning, some light tuning stuff, and some cool effects with those in the next video. So stay tuned for part 2. I'll put a link to it once it goes live. If you have any questions about how we mixed the lead or the backing vocals or the punches here and how we built this chain in Studio Rack, feel free to leave a comment below. If you learned anything in the video, please like, subscribe, and consider sharing. We'll talk to you soon.
Cold sweats, she whispers I equate to nothing, but we all know you're up to something, cause my soul stays heavy like the D-line. Place my worth up above, never anchored to your love or acceptance, even when I get quite reckless. I made it through the darkness, thank heavens. Pour my soul out into every word I share with you.